Hello, everyone. This is Ray Klein with Technology Worldwide. And this evening, I've got Amber Wanner with me. We're really excited to talk to you about her new company, as well as some of the cool things we're doing in technology. Amber, how are you this evening?
Hi, Ray. I'm doing well. How are you?
You know, it's Wednesday night. It's kind of warm out. Things are good. I cannot complain. How about you?
Yeah, same. I'm excited to, after this, I'm going to go walk the dog and enjoy that nice weather that we have here in Philly.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. I can't complain. It's a little cooler up here in the suburbs than it probably is in Philly, but I took the advantage of actually going to plug our Tech Fit community fitness challenge we have going on right now. I took a 3-mile walk up a mountain in Hawaii today on my Nordic track. So, yeah, this thing is amazing. I never thought exercising could be exciting, but today I was in Hawaii. Yesterday I was in New York. I think the day before I was somewhere in California. It's amazing. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Nordic Track is not paying me to say this, but they should be.
Yeah, definitely. I was just talking to another friend of mine who owns a tech company, and she is currently in Hawaii right now. And
nice.
Yeah, we were FaceTiming, and I saw how beautiful it was, and I was very jealous.
So what's Hawaii? 6 or 7 hours behind?
I don't know. Every time I hit that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, she's just getting up. And so that's kind of been our routine. So I don't know how many hours. That's a good question.
Yeah, well, just something for us to figure out later, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess the first thing we talk about is how we quote unquote met each other. And I think it was probably maybe somewhere between maybe 8 and 10 years ago at this point, maybe less. I don't know. I'm old and my brain doesn't work anymore.
No, I think you're right.
I think I saw an article about a company that you had started before, and I thought it was just such a great concept. I wanted to reach out and get to know you, and I think that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah, and then the rest is history. We became friends after that.
I like it.
Yeah, which is really cool. I think in business, I always say that you become friends with your clients, your investors, your colleagues, your everyone, and it becomes more than just business. So I appreciate getting to know you over the last several years, and I appreciate you having me on here.
No, absolutely. And, I've appreciated the advice you've given me in helping my business. And I hope that I've been able to shed a little bit of light for you, especially being on the different end of the business that you are. I'm just hoping that, technology is really just all about knowledge sharing. And I think that's just one of the things that has seemed to work really well. We've got different people in different industries just getting together and sharing knowledge with each other. And I think that just hit home, and that's another reason why I wanted to have you on here, other than to talk about your absolutely new, exciting business venture that you're doing. Give us a little background on that. What are you calling it, and what is it all about?
Yeah, definitely. So it's called Vet, and actually the idea for Vet came out of my last company, which is, I believe, probably how we did meet from an article that we were in. Candidate, it was a tech recruiting company with a twist. We would find software engineers jobs and or dates. And the idea for Vet actually came out of the job side. It was initially going to be a place where software engineers would be able to vet or phone interview other software engineers in their free time and make money. And it was just a challenge that I had internally, where I wasn't a software engineer. And so I would reach out to some friends of mine that were, and I would say, hey, can you vet this person for me? I'll pay you. And so it became this side gig, side hustle for people to make money in their free time. And from there, other people in different industries started reaching out to me and saying, hey, I'm an expert in my industry. I could vet people in my free time. And that's when I was like, this is interesting. And so the next year, I ended up closing my recruiting company and launching Vet. And again, it was initially supposed to be a platform that allows software engineers to vet other software engineers on behalf of companies. But while we were looking at our product market fit, the year of 2020, after, obviously the pandemic happened, I saw a couple different challenges we would run into, being that supply and demand side, that there's not thousands of software engineers readily available to vet a company's applicant on demand. And so we actually pivoted. We pivoted the business. It pretty much took us a good, solid, almost full year to figure this out. And that was from trial and error. And I like to say 2020 was my favorite year because I learned so much, in just understanding the client, what they want, what they need, what the applicant, what now is Vet, which, is It works like an Uber for phone interviews where people could make money in their free time phone interviewing applicants, but it's for the lower labor, high volume industry. So, virtually anyone can phone interview like a warehouse worker. Whereas software engineers, you needed to have a specific skill set to be able to do that.
So can you walk me through that process? Let's just say I am looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And maybe this isn't the right way to ask this question, but we'll do a couple for instances. I am a software engineer looking for a job. How do I work with you to make that happen?
Yeah. So since we did the pivot, we don't focus on that industry anymore. So we only work with the warehouse industry, the more, kind of convenience store, call center. So interviews where it's mostly data collection and less about like a specific skill set. So the way it works is an applicant will say apply to a job on whatever job board or wherever it is. And our technology will actually scrape their name, phone number, the job they applied to, and send them a text message basically saying, hey, I saw you applied to this job. Would you like to interview now? And so the applicant has the option to either interview now or when, they're ready. So for the first time ever, an applicant is actually able to initiate their own interview. The way we're able to do that is by utilizing, the gig economy. And so it works, I like to say it works like Uber. It really does. The applicant clicks one button and they're connected to a human within seconds.
Okay. That's pretty amazing. You are definitely taking the interview process and speeding that up. So I'm looking for a job in a warehouse or, grocery store, whatever it may be.
Yep.
And your package scrapes my information and finds it and sends me a text and said, hey, you'd like to interview. I click the button and then what happens?
And then our system searches for an interviewer who's online. And then once they're identified, it says, okay, Amber will be calling you in 30 seconds. So who's going to be calling you. It adds a more human component to it.
That's definitely an interesting take on this. I like that.
Yeah. And what's cool is that, these gig workers are doing this in their free time, all hours of the day. For example, my mom is a vetter for us. So she'll work at the school all day and then she'll come home, turn her availability on our platform, and then she'll start getting requests and doing 5-minute phone interviews and making money.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this then. In the world of spam, I get a text message from a company that I don't know, Vet.io. How do I know that that's legitimate, that that's something I want to do? That's
a great point. There is a lot of scammers and spammers. We actually had to go through a pretty in-depth, thorough vetting, no pun intended,
there you go,
with the carriers to get approved to be able to send these messages. Now, as the applicant, we're putting stuff in place to make it, seem real. And that's why it shows the picture of the person that's going to be calling them to add the more human component to it. But, in our beta test, we found that it kind of changed the behavior of these applicants. They're used to they're applying to a job and never hearing back from anyone. This is basically allowing them to speak to a human as soon as they apply.
Gotcha. So you started this in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic. What was that like?
Yeah, that was interesting for sure. I mean, again, we were in that process of pivoting the business that we didn't even know that we were going to do. I used to kind of think of a pivot as a bad thing. And I think a pivot is the best thing. I think it's the best thing that a company could ever possibly do because it means that you're listening to the market. You're taking all the data and everything that you've learned thus far, and you're iterating on that, which is, shows, I think that, you're not married to one specific thing because, a lot of companies, maybe the idea of the product that they thought they were going to build to what it ended up being when they sold or IPO'd is completely different. So yeah, I think just having that time to, we were working from home, so it was a lot of time to just learn, which was really good.
So what was working from home like for you in the beginning?
Well, so I have a business partner and we basically were working out of his apartment. And then we actually brought on a couple friends of his that were going to help us with research and some sales and whatever else. And we were able to, we all worked out of the apartment. So we kind of like became a family. We were our like COVID family, essentially.
I think everybody's got a group of COVID families. I can tell you that. I think for probably about a year or so, I didn't even see my real family. but I
Yeah.
had this core group of, 5 or 6 people. They're the only people I spent time with. And, it was that small group that we only saw each other. So
Sorry.
no, it's okay. What kind of puppy is it?
She's a mix. She's from Puerto Rico. She is like not a Chihuahua. She's kind of like a mix, but she's big ears. So she hears everything.
I think I heard you call her Squirrel at the beginning of this.
Yeah, her name is Squirrel. Yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
let me tell you, she loves squirrels. On our walk today, she like chased a squirrel like practically up the tree.
So I had an English Bulldog, and he used to do the same thing. Now, if you know an English Bulldog, they sit 6 inches off the ground, and they think they're tougher than they are. And he used to try to climb trees. I'm like, dude, what are you going to do if you even catch the thing? It's just never going to happen.
Yeah, so cute.
So during the build of this company, I saw that you did some traveling to help build the brand and build the company. Where did it take you?
Yeah, I honestly traveled more within the last like year and a half than I've ever traveled in my life. And it was, after the restrictions were lifted more so and the vaccine came out, and you were able to travel more. I definitely took advantage of that. And I went a lot to Florida. We had a beta client in Florida, a couple other potential clients out there. My business partner moved to Miami. So actually very close to the client. So that was awesome. And then obviously when you start fundraising, the investors are all over. So I spent time in San Francisco, various different places. But most recently, Boise, Idaho.
Okay.
Which was really, really cool. I mean, I honestly didn't even know where Boise was on the map. Yeah, I mean, it definitely surprised me in a really good way. It's beautiful out there. And then I also went to Prague to meet with our engineering team last year, which was
wow.
Really cool.
So the short answer is it took you all over the map, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, places that I've never been.
When you were in Miami, was it at least like winter up here, cold up here? So at least you go someplace where it was warm?
Yes. So when I went to Miami, it was last year. It was right before we did our soft launch. And the one day that I went for like the end of the week into the weekend. And on the one Saturday, I fell asleep in the sun for 3 hours straight. And I still have my tan lines from that trip.
Oh my God.
And by tan lines, I mean, I like burnt my skin to a crisp and could not move. It was the worst thing ever. But it's so funny because like the lines are still there.
You might want to get that checked.
I know.
There is nothing like the Florida sun. I'm actually going down in May. I normally go down with a couple of buddies of mine, once or twice a year. And normally we're down in the Keys, and this time we're going to the west coast of Florida. Sunscreen. I think I'll make sure that I'm wearing a lot of it.
Yeah, definitely. Key West is my happy place, by the way.
I think Key West is everybody's happy place. Now, again, I don't know if you're a drinker or not, but I think, in my opinion, that every bartender and every bar down there wants you to die.
Yeah.
I mean, they just keep handing you things, and they look at you funny if you're not drinking fast enough.
That is very true. I actually went there for my 30th this past year with my mom and my stepfather. And my mom and my stepfather both got sick. And so I was not from drinking. I don't know my mom had a stomach thing, and then my stepfather did. So I was going to go out on my 30th in Key West by myself. And then the last minute, my mom started feeling a little bit better, and she came out and celebrated with me. It was really sweet of her. And then she wasn't feeling well, so she went back. But for that moment that I turned 30, I had my mom there with me, which was nice.
That's amazing. So back to Vet, or I'll just keep talking about all the Key West bars all night. It's not good for either one of us. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. So when is Vet going live if it's not already live?
Yeah, so we did our soft launch last year. We did it in June. We gained a lot of traction. We actually started, we tweaked something on the product, and we started generating 14 interview requests a minute, which meant that 14 people a minute were clicking that interview now button that would connect them to a human.
Wow.
Which was insane. And our product was just not built to scale, as they say. You build a product not to scale. Initially while you're learning. And so it crashed within no time. So that's when I engaged the engineering firm out of Prague who has been an absolute godsend to us. They're incredible. They're called Oaks. They worked on another friend of mine's company. And yeah, I don't know. They're just very entrepreneurial and they help you beyond just their scope of work, which I think is incredible. They actually introduced us also to the investors that in Boise that I just met with. So we're set to go live with the new scalable version of the product the first week of April. So it's very exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah. We're teeing up for that now, getting everything in place for our launch. I have someone who used to be pretty early on at Uber as someone who's helping us with the launch, which is really cool. And yeah, we're stoked for it.
So I'm just going to jump around a little bit. You had mentioned, raising funds and, VC. What was that elevator pitch like to raise for a product like this that does not exist? Like, what was your pitch like?
Yeah. So I'll tell you right now. So when I first started the company and we were doing the highly skilled vetting, that was the whole idea of the company. And we were going to raise our pre-seed. And I actually got meetings with a lot of investors, a lot of VCs. And I felt like I didn't have the pitch right because there were still a lot of really big missing components and missing pieces of what we were building. And so I think it didn't come off as confident because I still wasn't completely sure, that we had something that the world would need. And so a lot of the questions came up that ended up being the reason why we pivoted. And so the moment that we pivoted and I realized we have something here, the pitches became so much easier because it was like, okay, and then it became even easier after we did our beta test, our soft launch, because I could take that data, the data speaks for itself. And, I think the most important thing is to be able to build like a very minimal product and sometimes even doing it manually, just a proof of concept, and then taking that data and using that to pitch investors and going in confident, with it. You kind of have to go in like, all right, I know I have something incredible here. And, I want to go with the VC or the investor who sees it essentially.
And did you narrow yourself down to a single, or did you have multiple VCs that are helping you through this project?
So we raised our pre-seed last year, and that was multiple investors. And then I opened up our seed round. We were raising 2.5 million in a safe, and I had one angel come in to kind of kick it off, which was also a godsend. Very grateful for that. And then we pitched the VC out of Boise, and they immediately understood what we were building, and they made us an offer. And so we are actually in the process of closing that right now.
Well, congratulations on that. I mean, that's incredible to go from building a business, raising in excess of $2.5 million during a pandemic, and now going to Boise, Idaho, of all places, to find a company that you're going to work with. I mean, that's incredible. That's a story.
Yeah. I mean, it all happened pretty fast too, but I feel like it's one of those things where, you click and they got it right away, and I think it was also partially because someone in their fund, was in that world and saw the pain point. And so they were able to kind of validate what we were building. And now from here, we build it together and make this thing grow and start teeing up for, Series A and Series B and, beyond.
And do you know what you don't have to share with us if you don't want to, but what your next steps are or where you want to bring this product to?
Yeah. So I definitely have some ideas of where I'd like to expand it beyond just interviews. I'll just say that. But yeah, we definitely see our platform. Basically, again, you click a button and you connect to a human working in various different industries and, areas of business.
Perfect. Now, on the other side of this coin, if I am somebody that wants to be one of your vetters, if that's the word we're looking for,
yep.
How do I sign up to become a vetter?
Yeah. So again, a vetter is pretty self-explanatory. To be a vetter, really all you're doing is reading off of a script and speaking to another human. We really want people who are personable. And right now we do have a wait list just because, we need to make sure that we're managing the supply demand as we go into this. And so, yeah, we have a wait list. So as we continue to grow, we're going to be adding people to the platform from the wait list. So if anyone's interested, they could just go to vette.io, vette.io, and put their email in to sign up for that wait list.
Got it. I'm on the website now. I see it.
Yeah, so right now the website is a landing page, but we're actually going to be going live with the actual website, which is looking pretty sharp. I believe it's next week.
So how do you market this platform?
Yeah, so in the beginning, obviously, we definitely did the friends and family where, my mom was like one of our first vetters on the platform. And I do recommend that just because, friends and family, there's a little bit more leeway in terms of, if the tech isn't working, if some bugs, come up. Whereas if it's people that you don't know and they think the product's a little bit further along, they don't expect, there to be bugs. So, transparency was really, really important, and communication in the beginning. When we started having more people coming on the platform that we didn't know, maybe from referrals or whatever, it was all about communication and transparency. And that's something that I highly recommend that if you as a founder aren't doing it, maybe hire an intern to kind of keep up with that. But mostly in the beginning, it's been all word of mouth. In one text message, I had one of our vetters say, "Hey, can I refer my husband, my grandson, my sister in Alabama?" And it was really cool to see the network effects happening where, we didn't really need to put any marketing spend in it. Because again, being a vetter is a pretty easy job. Like it's not terribly hard to do, and you can actually make some pretty good money.
So that leads to the perfect question. Without giving exacts away, what's the kind of money a person can make from doing these interviews?
Yeah, so originally the interviews were longer, but we were able to kind of shorten them by doing certain things, by just, again, learning the platform, understanding, hearing feedback. So we actually are able to get these interviews down to about 5 minutes, and we pay a vetter between $4 and $5 per 5-minute phone interview.
So they're making $1 a minute. That's insane. Where else can you make $1 a minute?
I know.
That's incredible.
From anywhere. Like, that's the cool thing, is that you could do it literally from anywhere. Like, a vetter could be anywhere.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
So you mentioned your business partner place in Miami, and you mentioned some of your friends that are parts of this. So can you talk to us about some of your business partners and who they are?
Yeah, so my business partner originally, he originally was coming in as like an angel investor when I first got started, and he kind of just took a more active role as the company was growing. So he kind of came in as my business partner, interim COO, during that year of 2020, which was, again, the learning year. And he's been incredible. I mean, every step of the way, I trust him with everything. When you go through something like that together, it's like raising a child. I've obviously never raised a child, but it's what I would imagine that to kind of feel like. And so we've been, incredibly, close from the very beginning. And I actually just got off the phone with him. Funny enough, on my way back from Boise, I had to catch him up on some paperwork stuff. And I called him, and he knew I was at the airport. He said that he was at the airport. And it turned out we were at the same airport in Arizona, in Phoenix. And we both had like a 5-6 hour layover, and we were able to catch up in person, which was really cool. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is definitely weird. And that was completely unplanned.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Wait a minute. You were in Phoenix from Boise? How did that happen?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a long day. I left Boise at 4 p.m., flew into Phoenix, and then and had a 6-hour layover, and then took a red eye back to Philly.
Oh my God, that sounds terrible.
I know, it was not the best. Not the best. Flight.
I mean, Boise can't be more than a 3-4 hour flight at most, direct.
Yeah, I think that getting a good direct flight, like, there weren't really many available. So I think you have to really plan it. And my coming back was a little bit up in the air.
And can you sleep in a plane or get comfortable enough in a plane to relax?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I could either work. It depends what time of day, but I could definitely sleep. I sometimes feel bad for the person next to me because I feel like I'm either gonna like snore, sleep talk, or something.
Look, as long as you're not punching them, I don't think they care. I think you'll be fine. Yeah, I cannot get comfortable on a plane, a train, a car. It doesn't make a difference. So I don't ever get to sleep.
Oh,
so it's not fun. I'll have to tell you someday about a story where I ended up driving across Kansas because I refused to be the passenger in the car. And that was just 10 hours of Kansas was terrible.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine.
No,
I'm
just
sure
flat.
Kansas is lovely, but yeah.
Yeah, it's flat, dusty, and windy. Short of that, don't go back. No.
Oh my goodness.
Apparently, I got good steaks. Maybe. All right. So back on to the nerd portion of the interview. What technologies are you using to build the application?
Sure. So for our MVP, our bubblegum and tape, as I call it, version of the product, which was our proof of concept, we mostly used vanilla JavaScript for that. It basically it was we were able to have kind of like all the bells and whistles. However, it was it didn't always work, but it did exactly what it needed to get us to where we are. Now we're building a more scalable version. So we're using Node, React, and we were on AWS. We're kind of figuring out if we're going to do AWS or Google Cloud for that. And then we also work with Twilio, and Twilio has been, our whole product pretty much runs on Twilio.
Yeah, Twilio is a great platform.
Yeah.
So what are your considerations between an AWS or a Google?
I definitely, coming from the recruiting background, like I want to make sure that we're using technology that allows us to recruit, good software engineers. And I do know that like when I was doing recruiting, Google wasn't as popular. There were more AWS engineers. I ran or co-organized quite a few AWS meetups here in Philly. So I just know AWS just a little bit more than Google, but I think that the engineering team we're working with kind of prefers Google Cloud. So if that's the best tool to use and we're able to recruit people from it, I'm fine with that.
It's a really good answer. That works.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at, we call ourselves tech nerds. If you look at the arguments, people say, one is better than the other simply based on nothing to do with real facts, just our own personal opinions.
Yeah.
When you form your own opinion, it becomes facts. And I will tell you, and everybody in this group will tell you, I'm not an Apple person by any stretch of the imagination. And I can pull every fact on the planet that will tell you what other platforms are better, simply because I want you to believe my opinion. Doesn't mean it's true, but I'm willing to argue that until the day I die.
That's hilarious. At the end of the day, it's all about preference to, like, for the software engineer, like what you feel comfortable working with, who's initially building your platform. And I also learned that every software engineer wants to start from the ground up. Like they don't want to use someone else's code, and like unless it's already like an established scalable product. But when we first kind of started off, I had a couple different instances where, someone started doing it on something and then basically threw that out, and the other engineer came in and built it from scratch with a different technology.
Yeah, and it's just like in my industry in IT, we don't ever want to build upon what somebody else did because we're always afraid there's backdoors, or we believe that what we do is better than anybody else. And I'm not saying that to be cocky, but like we believe that the way that we do things may be better than what somebody else did. So we want to redesign everything. And that's what, when an IT company takes over services for another company, that's where the challenge is for the customer, because the customer has to go through that big change that they never want to do. And that's why a lot of people stay with their IT department and their IT company. They're like, I don't want to change it because it's too much work.
Yeah.
So I get that.
The migration and everything.
Yeah, it's no fun. It is not. So how many people are part of the team right now?
Well, it is currently it's me. I have a whole team of engineers in Prague. I have my advisor, who again came from like the Uber background, and Austin, who has been serving as my co-founder. But by the end of the year, I'm going to probably be looking to hire between 8 and 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's mostly going to be between sales and vetter ops. So supply and demand, essentially. Someone managing the supply side, someone managing the demand side.
And, with the entire work from home situation, do you envision these people coming to an office, or do you think they're going to be able to work from anywhere in the world? It's not going to make a difference.
Yeah, so a little bit of both, not saying too much, but there's a good possibility that I will be spending quite a bit of time in Boise and building a presence out there.
Okay.
And and I think that would probably be more sales, like the supply demand, teams. And, in terms of software engineers, I truly do believe that people work best when they're in the best environment that they work in. For me, that used to be working out of a Starbucks, like sitting in a chair and working out of a Starbucks. I did my best work doing that at that time in my life. And, some people like going, to the office and having that interaction with coworkers and stuff. But some software engineers, work best, when they're not distracted and they're able to really just focus on the code. So I think it's going to be a mix. I think probably the sales team and stuff will be in-house. I do want to build a culture. And I think some of that does have to do, come into play with like meeting in person. But again, I'm open to what's best.
No, I agree. And I can tell you, and this is no cut on developers, IT people tend to be very awkward. I'm an IT guy. I'm pretty awkward sometimes. Depends. But I can tell you, when I managed a team of developers, they wanted to be in the darkest office I could find, with the blinds down. They wanted to come in their ratty T-shirts and jeans. And honest to God, letting them do that and having their own space, they gave us the best work product.
Yeah.
And I remember having arguments with senior management telling me, you can't have your guys coming in dressed like this. You can't have your guys in dark rooms. That's not the way our office is. And I'm like, they built your company. Like, you can fight them all you want, but if I put them in a sunshine room in the middle of the floor where they're being stared at all day, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So let me manage my team and just walk away. And I won that argument. I have no idea how that company's doing now, but it's definitely, you got to make people comfortable. And just like you said, you make people comfortable in their environment and they're going to, succeed for you. And I think this entire work from home business we've brought to, and I definitely want to talk to you about that, has made rock stars out of people, but it's also made some really lazy people. So, but we'll circle back to that in a moment. So to break this quote unquote interview podcast up a little bit, we're going to do some quick fire questions. You ready?
Yep.
What is your favorite website?
Well, it used to be LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, it doesn't have to be social. It could be non-social. It could be, a news website. It can be a fashion website. It can be a YouTube. Doesn't matter. So what do you think your favorite is?
Your website. That's interesting. I don't really have one. I spend most of my time like on our website, not like on vet.io, but like inside of the actual website. That's a good question. I'm going to have to think about that one and come back to it.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Favorite social platform?
Between LinkedIn and Instagram.
Okay, that's fair. Favorite food?
Stuffed peppers.
What kind of stuffed peppers? What is it stuffed with?
My mom's stuffed peppers, which were my grandma's stuffed peppers. Stuffed with ground meat, rice, my mom sometimes puts olives in it. Sometimes she has put mushrooms. Like it all depends, whatever she's feeling. But I love them. It's my favorite thing ever.
So I will tell you, patting myself on the back, I'm a pretty good chef. And one of the things that I make for all of my parties is what I call deconstructed red peppers. Ooh. So instead of actually stuffing them, it's the same thing, except I dice the peppers. Game changer.
Oh my God.
Same ingredients. Take my word on it.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to be invited to one of these parties.
Done.
I'm going to invite myself.
You are invited anytime you want. All right. Favorite beverage? It can be alcoholic, non-alcoholic, whatever makes you happy.
I love seltzer.
Seltzers.
Yeah, and I still not alcohol seltzers, but just regular.
Oh, that's fair.
But I still don't know the difference between seltzer and club soda.
I ask that question all the time. I believe I'm probably wrong, and I will get yelled at by everybody listening to this podcast. In my opinion, it's all the same stuff, but I'm wrong.
When I was in Prague, I asked for, I would say this is my second favorite. When I was in Prague, I asked for an iced coffee, and they looked at me like, you mean espresso tonic? And I was like, sure. So they gave me this ice. It was ice with espresso, and then they topped it with tonic water. And it's the best thing I've ever tasted. It's so good. Like, you wouldn't think it's good because there's tonic in it, and tonic has a weird taste. It is amazing. You don't even need sugar in your coffee. It's so good.
That's cool.
So I recommend someone try it. Yeah.
Done. I like it. So, per Google, and Google knows everything, and Google is never wrong. Club soda, seltzer, and sparkling and tonic waters are different types of carbonated water. Club soda is infused with carbon dioxide and mineral salts. So, what does that mean? I don't know.
Which one is the one where it's just bubbles? That's the one I want.
Bubbles. We're going to go with sparkling water, I believe, is just.
Okay. Yeah, I really want to get a soda stream.
So my friends got it, and they live on it. They stopped buying other soda products just because of it.
Yeah.
And, you can buy actual branded like Coca-Cola or actual branded like Dr. Pepper and stuff like that. And it is pretty good. So
I'm going to have to get one of those.
So if SodaStream is listening, send Amber one, please. Free plug here.
I will love
you. All right. So favorite historical figure.
Well, I was actually thinking about this the other day. So I really love Dr. Seuss. When I started my first company, I kind of started it with the places you'll go.
Yep.
Kind of thinking about that. I actually did a painting that was in my office, hung up in my office at my first company. And it kind of just inspired me to not have, any restriction like that. I could do anything I want. And I also think that's really interesting how he got his messages across, through his books, because obviously the parents were reading the book. So, at one point I would be reading Dr. Seuss to my niece or nephew, and I would be like, whoa, this applies to me as an adult. So I thought it was really interesting, Dr. Seuss. And then also, this is what I was thinking, because it is Women's History Month. I always really admired Harriet Tubman. And I did a book report on her when I was younger. And I just really admire her and everything that, she's been through, what she did. She didn't let that stop her. And I think as a female CEO in, a mostly male dominated industry, you can't just take what someone's going to, you have to not give up, and you have to continue to believe in yourself, and that you could change, make what's been historically done, I guess.
So since you did a book report on her, what would be a fact that maybe we all don't know about her?
Oh, geez, that was so long ago.
Oh, come on. I got to put you on the spot.
I know. I don't know. I'm going to Google one right now. And then I'll probably remember it.
All right. Well, these are supposed to be quick fire, so it's okay. I put you on the spot.
She had narcolepsy. Right. That's interesting. I did not know that.
She had what?
Narcolepsy.
No kidding.
I did not know that.
Oh, God, I got to tell you, that's something that I'd be terrified of. Can you imagine just passing out, falling asleep?
Yeah. It was from, it was from a head injury as a child. That's really sad. I feel like I probably would have known that back when I did my book report, but I did not remember that part.
It's okay. All right, last one. If you could have lunch with any business person today, who would be?
Any business person.
Any business person. Ray Klein is an acceptable answer.
I would say Sarah from Spanx.
Okay.
I think she is a badass. Sarah Blakely. She is a badass, and she is everything that I would want to be, and hope that one day people look at me as. She did her thing, and she just seems like a really good human being, and that's really important to me too. I follow her on Instagram, and so obviously I know her whole life. No, I'm kidding.
It's amazing how much we know about people just because of social media.
Yeah.
So people listening, be careful what you put out there.
Yeah.
Are following you. All right. So back to the fun stuff. Now that we've gotten through that. So going back to, a world of COVID and work from home, and personally, I just believe the way that it has changed social cues and changed how people interact. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you think there's going to be a significant change in social interactions with people as they grow up in remote learning situations where they're not interacting with people in schools and at work anymore?
Yeah, I really do. And I say that because I see it in myself. And that could also be just getting older, being a different being more self-aware maybe, but I found that I'm not as extroverted as I think I thought I was. And I think a lot of it does have to do with the pandemic and being, mostly working from home. I used to be super comfortable, in a crowd full of a ton of people. Now I'm not. I mean, I still can be comfortable, but it's not like I used to. I definitely see a change in me in that regard. I'm a little bit more apprehensive to kind of go into that kind of situation. Like, for example, I went to this big conference in Vegas, and normally I'll just go talk to everyone. And I kind of felt a little bit like overwhelmed because there were so many people. And I hadn't been around that many people in so long. And of course we were wearing a mask and everything. So it kind of just felt a little bit claustrophobic, which is funny because I've never felt that way before.
It's interesting.
Yeah. But I do wonder for like the younger generation in terms of like learning in an environment where, you have to wear a mask, or learning in an environment where, it's just different than when we grew up. And so, yeah, I think it's very interesting to see. I think a lot of the mental health stuff is coming to light, which I think is a good thing, that people are addressing stuff like that earlier on, I think. Yeah. I mean, you see a lot of mental health startups coming out, since the pandemic.
Yeah. And I'm going to plug NAMI. I mean, they're an incredible organization, and they've done so much to help people, with, releasing mental stigma. It's incredible. And you just feel for people that do have this, issues where they can't get outside of their own heads, or they're suffering from depression. I mean, it's sad. And, I had a really good friend that suffered from depression, and unfortunately, no matter what you did or what you said or, where you were, they couldn't snap themselves out of it. It's just something that they didn't control. Yep. And to learn and understand that was just really hard for me. I'm like, what do you mean? If I get you your favorite food or get you your favorite drink, or I take you to your favorite place, I can't break you out of this? It just, it's so tough. And it's really, obviously incredibly hard on them, but it's really incredibly hard on the people around them too.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm definitely happy that conversation has started, and some good things have come from this pandemic. That's for sure.
Yeah. The one thing that I will say, this is completely off topic. I mean, not completely off topic, but did lose a couple of family members during COVID because of COVID. And, one thing that I think businesses don't really focus on is, that period of mourning and taking time to be able to do that. Like, my mom works at a school, and her sister passed away, and she literally only got one day of grieving. And I think that, I think more businesses like schools and stuff like that should maybe, I mean, again, people's, being able to recoup after something like that, I think is worth a couple days off, personally.
No, I agree. In my opinion, you have a bereavement period for a common cold. Someone dies, you get that time. I don't understand why, because it's COVID, there's less time involved. And I don't know if it's because there's no protocols, because there's so much time being taken off from work because of it. But at the end of the day, a loss of a loved one is a loss of a loved one. There shouldn't be like, you're getting one day. It's like, no, if you need a month, you get a month. At the end of the day, that's what it is. That's unfair. And the whole desensitization of, someone dying from COVID. I know I didn't lose anyone in my family from COVID, but I know many people that unfortunately did die. And when you talk to their family, or when you even talk to people in my family about it, it's, oh, they just died from COVID. I literally talked to a client today whose brother died from COVID a month ago. Yeah. And he's like, well, yeah, he didn't get vaccinated, so he died. Like, that's, it's like, they don't seem to be, like, a COVID death doesn't seem to be as impactful as a regular death. And I don't understand that myself.
Yeah, it is really crazy. I mean, it's so interesting, the world that we're in right now, all the stuff. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Didn't think this conversation was going here tonight.
I know, you could totally edit all that out.
No, we're leaving it. Can we go back to Squirrel? Let's go back to Squirrel.
Yeah. No, don't say her name because then she's going to go.
I didn't say a thing. All right. So only a couple more here that I want to go through with you, and then I will let you get back and go for your walk this evening. So I think we kind of went through all the social stuff that I wanted to talk about, probably more in depth than anybody else wanted to hear. So, things like, how do you think the world of like online dating has changed, as well as online meetings as opposed to meeting with people in person? Because think about it, 5-6 years ago, online dating had this terrible stigma. Now it's super common. Online meetings with customers wasn't a thing of the past. Like, if you had a meeting with a customer in California, you got on a plane and you went. Now it's just like, you can do a Zoom. How do you feel that that's going to change the way that business and social life is going to change?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's really interesting because now, I couldn't imagine not doing like a video call for business. Now, what I will tell you is I do value the in-person interaction. I feel way more in my element when I'm one-on-one with someone or two-on-one or whatever in person. And I think that a lot of people, because of COVID, maybe got so used to doing those video meetings and that it kind of was like a crutch to not have to do it in person. But I think the magic happens in person personally. And I think the more the world, is opening up and whatever else, and the restrictions are going down, I think that I would not rely on just video calls. I would try to get out there and meet people in person. I really would. Yeah.
I would agree with you. I mean, there is something to be said about looking into the eyes of the person, not through a camera, and being able to read their social cues, be able to read, how they're actually feeling. Like, it's the worst thing in the world to read a text message and never understand what it means. It's another to be looking in the eyes of a person through a camera and not understand what they mean.
Yeah.
That is all made very clear when you're sitting in the room next to a person. You can tell real quickly if they're interested in what you're talking about or not. So,
yeah. I mean, and not that there's anything wrong with meetings, virtually, given the situation and everything. I can't wait until, a world where going in person, it kind of is back to the norm. And that's just me personally. But, and forget about phone calls. Like, I feel like I had to do I didn't have to, but I did a cold call the other day into this business that I saw was like, that I think could really, be awesome to use Vet. And I hadn't cold called in years. And I almost forgot how to do it. I was like, oh no, like, this is awkward. Like, you don't know me, I'm calling you. And I'm like, snap out of it, Amber. You like, but it was funny. And I actually ended up getting a meeting out of it. But yeah, it was really interesting how just the behaviors have changed so much, but I also think it's kind of cool that, we're able to adapt to different types of ways of doing things and not be just married to one. And in terms of dating, yeah, I mean, again, the in-person interaction, I think is important, like being able to, see someone in person. I was actually talking to someone about this not too long ago, about how like online dating versus meeting someone at a bar or whatever in person is interesting because you're kind of swiping with your eyes anyway when you're at a bar. You either think the person seeing their mannerisms or whatever is, you're attracted to it, and you go up to them and talk to them, or you don't. And, I think that it's interesting how it's kind of sort of similar in that regard. But again, always in person, for me.
Don't disagree with you. I have friends, obviously younger than me. I'm a little bit older, and they do not know how to approach a person. And I think it's hilarious. Like, how do you not know how to say hi to somebody in public? But I'll tell you what, they've got the biggest game in the world on, a Tinder or a Bumble. They're like, hey, I got this. I know exactly what I'm saying here. I'm like, why not say the same exact things that you're saying to the person you see in front of you? I don't know. It's my personality, I guess. Maybe it's a terrible thing. I haven't figured it out yet.
No, you have a great personality.
Well, again, it's behind a microphone, and I think it's beautiful. So, how does it feel to be the incredibly successful businesswoman that you are? Take the compliment, Amber. Take the compliment.
See, for me, like I don't look at it that way. I feel like once we sell or IPO, that's when I'll probably feel like, okay, I've accomplished, like I'm a successful business person. I don't really like, there's so many milestones and different things that you need to hit that I do celebrate the small wins, but I also know that there's a long road ahead, So I wouldn't yet say that I'm a successful entrepreneur yet, but.
Well, there are varying degrees of success, and the fact that you get up every day and you keep the hustle going, that's a success.
Yeah.
Success. If I could say that word, I'd be happier. That would be a success.
Yes. So I'm incredibly proud of myself for all the work that I've done thus far to get me where I am. Like that beta test, that learning stuff, like there was so much that went into it that I look back and I'm like, holy cow, I can't believe I did that. Like, so I would define that as success. But there's always room to grow. And that's kind of just what I meant by that. But I do look back and I am incredibly proud of the work that I've accomplished thus far.
So when you look back on what you've done and what you've learned, what would you tell 15-year-old you about starting your own business and running your own company? What advice would you give 15-year-old Amber?
I would say, you're a pain in the ass now. You're also going to be a pain in the ass, and not take no for an answer when you're older. Just keep on that track.
Some people find that a problem. I find that incredibly refreshing. Look, direct is the way to go. That's awesome.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
Like as a kid, I was always very like, my mom would tell me to do something and I would be like, oh no, I'm going to do it this way. And so in that regard, I've always tried to figure out other ways of doing things. And I don't think that's changed since I was a little girl to now.
No, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So we will let you go after this. What advice would you give? It's Women Appreciation Month. And one of the things that we want to ask is, what would you tell a young woman looking to start a business, or a young woman looking to get into maybe a business that is more male oriented? What would you tell them, and how would you help them succeed?
Yeah, I would say don't overthink it, because I know that with both of my companies, if I started thinking, oh, well, what if this happens, or what if I don't have, this or whatever, I would have never done it ever. I would have never done it. You kind of just have to think, I'll figure it out as I go, and not get in your own way or in your own head, because that could definitely happen. When I was about to start Vet, I did start getting in my head. I had gotten a job offer somewhere unexpectedly with a very nice salary. I was running my recruiting company, making good money there. And then I had this other, I had this idea for Vet. And so I had 3 doors that I could go down. And I started thinking, okay, well, what if I do this one, and blah, blah, blah. And it was like the moment I started thinking, what if, I was like, I can't, I'm going to get in my own head. And so I decided to go with the most risky one, which is starting this, this tech startup. So don't overthink it. But also, I think that being a woman, you kind of sometimes feel like you have to put on a certain face or whatever. And at the end of the day, just be yourself. Like, don't try to be tough if you're soft. Don't try to be soft if you're tough. Like, just be who you are, because that's, how that's at least how I feel like how I've gotten to where I am. And also just always be trying to help other people along the way. You don't always need to get something out of it. With my first company, I did a lot of work for free just to help people. And, down the line, I wasn't expecting it, but that came back around and, they became a client of mine, or referred a client, and so now, I mean, this goes for anyone, not just women, but yeah, that would be my advice. And then the one last piece of advice that no one told me is, make sure that you file your franchise tax, on the 1st.
Oh God, been there, done that. I don't even want to talk about it.
I know. And franchise tax is different than other tax for a business. So I am just finding that out. Your lawyer and your doesn't do it. You are the one that files your franchise tax. I was dealing with that right before this call. So.
Oh wow. Yeah. Dealing with taxes just in general is just not It's just not a fun environment whatsoever.
Yeah. When I was doing it, I was like, man, no, I wish someone told me this. So now here you go.
So be yourself and pay your taxes, kids. That's pretty much, to summarize it, that's pretty much where we're going with it. I like it.
Exactly.
No, that's cool. Well, Amber, where can we find you? Where can we find your business, and where can we find you online?
Yeah, so so my website is again vette.io. I tried to buy .com, but someone's has the website with a bunch of Corvettes, so don't go there unless you want a Corvette. But to go to vet, it's just vette.io. And I'm on LinkedIn. It's Amber Wanner, Wanner, and I'm happy to help anyone, who maybe needs advice or any intros or anything like that. Like, I'm totally happy to help.
That's awesome. Well, all of the members of Technology appreciate all your time and sharing your insights. And I am super stoked to talk to you about everything. It was fun.
I know. Stoked. I will go on for hours talking about God knows what.
That's fine. That's what we're here for. I just think I'm going to whisper Squirrel's name, and I don't want her to start barking again. But so for everyone that's listening, we have a series of interviews coming up with some amazing women this month to celebrate Women Appreciation Month. So we've got more next week. We've got Patricia Dixon coming on. So I'm really looking forward to talking with her. She works at Virtual Health Systems, so that's going to be a fun conversation. And for anyone listening, you can find us at technologyworldwide.org, as we are a charitable organization giving back to the community. And you can find me at Libertas Ray. If you want to chat or if you want to join this podcast, please let us know. Amber, seriously, thank you so much. Congratulations on your success. Thank you. Hasta luego, and congratulations. Make sure you're following Amber because there's an announcement coming.
Yeah. But no, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was so awesome talking with you and just really, just having a normal, real conversation. And yeah, I think you're awesome. I think what you're doing here is awesome. And yeah.
Well, thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Well, listen, go for your walk, enjoy your evening, and follow us. We love having you on. Thank you again, Amber.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. See ya.